Here's a question that I often get. When an executive recruiter approaches me, asking me if I'm interested in a position, and they ask me to send my resume, how should I reply? Now, what happened to most candidates is that once you send your resume, you answer all their screening questions, you end up in a passive situation where they have all they need while you are in a passive seat waiting for the next steps. This is not the best dynamic to be in because it does not serve them, their job, does not demonstrate your leadership during the interaction, and it is not fair. This is not fair because they have all the information about you while you have very little understanding of them and their needs. This is not even the best way to serve them and to make their job easier. So in this video, I want to share with you, besides answering all their questions, what you should be saying and asking so you can demonstrate leadership while also make the recruiter's job easier through a respectful and professional interaction. If you get their message on LinkedIn or by email, you can reply something like this. First of all, thank you for reaching out. Before I send you my CV, I'd like to have a better understanding of the position so that I can make my profile more relevant. Can we have a short call to discuss this further? What I normally do is to ask for a 15 to 20 minutes call because even if they are super busy, I guess you are as well, it is much easier to find 15 minutes than to find a 45 minutes time slot in anyone's calendar. Once you have them on the call, here are the questions you want to be asking. First is, what is it about my profile that makes you feel I might be a good fit for this position? This is a really good question for several reasons. First, it helps you understand what attracted them to your profile. If you later on decided that you want to go for this position, now you can double down on your cases, track records, and experiences that align with the qualification they mentioned. Second, the more they explain how they see you fitting into the role, the less you need to sell yourself. They end up selling the position to you. The second question I really like is, have you tried to fill this position internally? Now, this question is important because you want to know if you are competing with any internal candidates. And if you are, you might need to position yourself differently. You also want to understand the advantages you have over an internal candidate. Now, most organizations, they prefer to give senior executive positions to internal candidates for many reasons. First, internal candidates are safer options because they are already known to the top leadership team and the board, and they are already working with most of the stakeholders. The second reason is, of course, speed. Now, with all the understanding of the culture, background, business, product, solutions the organization has, and with all these relationships already established, they can hit the ground and running. External candidates could take much longer because of the hiring process, long notice period, and a very possible non-compete agreement with the former employer. And the third reason is cost. Hiring a C-suite executive externally costs much more than promoting internally because of the recruitment fees, onboarding expenses, higher salary negotiation, longer integration period. Remember, culture adaptation itself, it's a cost. So to sum up, internal candidates, they do have a higher chance of getting these senior positions. But this is not always the case as well. Personally, in my second vice president position, I was hired externally by one of the largest companies in Sweden by market cap. This is an organization has over 53,000 loyal employees, and over 78% of the executives are developed and promoted from within. I had to understand why they didn't recruit internally for this position if I really want this position. So when I asked a question about internal candidates, they gave me a very valid reason. They said that they were looking for someone who could bring external perspectives, best practices, and help to transform the function to enable digital sales and the online marketing process. Knowing this information is super helpful for me because then I can focus on these areas during the interview process. The next question you want to ask is, how long has the position been open? This is a great question because the longer a position remains open, the more desperate the hiring company may become. And the more likely the company will realize their very initial job requirements were too difficult to meet, and now they are open and willing to adjust. When I was hiring myself, if a position was not filled within the first round after being posted, I would ask external recruiters to help me headhunt candidates. And this process itself takes time. And if it took too long, I would then lower my standard. Now I'm willing to compromise on some of my requirements. This means candidates who were not qualified during the very first screening process and they did not meet the original criteria, now I'm open to consider them. To get more context, if the position has been open for a while, this is the question you want to ask. What has been missing in the candidates you have interviewed so far? This is a smart question because knowing this background, you can evaluate if you fit yourself. And if you do, you want to make sure that you do not make the same mistakes the other ones make, and you can better brand yourself differently, how you meet the company's requirements. On the other hand, if this position is newly opened, you could ask this question instead. What concerns do you, or if this is an external headhunter, what concerns does your client have about filling this position? This question serves the same purpose basically, but it helps you to understand a hiring manager's top worries, their objections, and they are normally not written in the job description and it's almost impossible to read between the lines. The next great question is, what's the most important qualifications you are looking for? What are the must-haves? Because among all the job descriptions, especially for the senior executive positions, they have an even longer list of requirements. In reality, only a few of them are truly important and they are not negotiable. You need to differentiate the must-haves from the nice-to-haves. For example, if at this point you find that the must-have qualification is something that you have never done, for example, they have to have someone who took a company to IPO, or something you are not willing to compromise, for example, relocating your entire family to another country. And this is a good point to decide not to continue the process. And if you do meet all these must-have requirements, now you know what to focus on in the following interview process. You can then tailor your branding, competence, track records accordingly so that you stand out. Now, some of you might be asking, what if there's no immediate openings? What if they just reach out to network? Here is a great question to ask. Of all the assignments you get, what's the most challenging position to fill? This is a great question because it has two purposes. First, it helps you to understand their challenges and needs, and if your profile can help them solve these challenges, during the interactions with them, you can then brand yourself to stand out in terms of these competence or leadership that are challenging for them to find. And now you are being relevant to them. Second, now you know their challenges. This gives you the chance to help them in the future. Now you can offer to open up your network for them and make connections. This question works magic because one of my clients actually used this question to turn a casual introductory call with a recruiter into 2 formal job interviews. I have a system that I have used for myself to get 2 vice president positions, one in Asia and one in Europe, at the 2 largest Swedish companies by market cap. If you want to learn how I achieved this in under 2 years, I encourage you to watch the free training. You will get the steps that I took to advance from middle management to top leadership positions by the age of 36. It's free and you can sign up at inspiremyday.org/masterclass or find the link in the description below. For now, watch this video and learn about the 5 biggest mistakes that would cost you an executive job offer. I'll see you there.